Well, welcome back to another week's analysis behind the news, and that's really what this is supposed to be, is an analysis. But sometimes we kind of get into a rut of talking about things that you may not know about rather than getting into depth. So today we're going to give you some background to better understand terrorism and what's really going on when in the terrorist world, if you will. People don't realize, most people alive today don't realize, that we have had terrorist problems in this country for many, many years. I'm talking about hundreds of years. You know, when I was growing up and I used to infiltrate Marxist organizations and that sort of thing, they were bombing every day. You would see things like this. This is a poster, burning down the courthouse, acting as if it's a Nazi thing here. Avenge Bobby Seale, the Seattle Liberation Front. And terrorist organizations like this were proliferating all over the country. This one even has the stamp. You can't see it on camera. It's almost illegible, but it's from the University of Washington approving that this be posted all over the university campus. This sort of extreme terror promoting idea approved by the University of Washington for posting. At the same time, that was 1970, by the way. 1969, you had newspapers like this in the same area. That was University of Washington in Seattle. This was a newspaper in Seattle. The Northwest Voice of the Black Community Blacks. That's what it says. But look at the headline. Guerrilla warfare. If Dave Mills not appointed trustee. I mean, this is the kind of rhetoric. This is the kind of thing that was going on. They would blow things up. They would put a bomb in the post office there near the University of Washington and all sorts of things. Yes, some people came to trial, but in this general scheme of things, didn't do much to them. But this was going on all the time. Now, regrettably, a lot of those people, in fact, the leader of the Seattle Liberation Front, went from becoming, as J. Edgar Hoover of the FBI described, the most dangerous terrorist in the United States, a leader of that sort of an organization, into becoming a rabbi. He became a rabbi because he was Jewish. But some of the black leaders became imams. They went from leading a terrorist organization to becoming imams, like H. Rap Brown and Stokely Carmichael, changed their name to Arabic names and became religious leaders. I even know of a few that became Christian ministers. One in the country today is quite prominent in the Christian world. There you have it. They're using a disguise, if you will. They put on what the SDS, the Students for Democratic Society, said, put on a pinstripe suit and melt into the population because there's more we can do from the inside than the outside. So a lot of these people are doing that. The problem that you have with this sort of thing is those individuals now are friends of the man who occupies the White House. He's appointed some of them into the government. He's friends with the Akers and those that actually blew up police stations and killed cops and that sort of thing. So today what you see is a condition whereby terror creates a reaction that forces the government to do things that violate the Bill of Rights. That's the whole purpose behind terror, ladies and gentlemen. Terror is designed to create a reaction. The action is in the reaction of making government more totalitarian and draconian. You saw that in the curfew, shutting down the cell phone towers, closing down the internet, all of those things in the greater Boston area. And by the way, all those house-to-house searches didn't work, did they? It wasn't until the curfew was lifted that a homeowner went outside and noticed that there was something wrong with his shed and the boat in his backyard. An alert citizen, not this house-to-house business, at any rate. The interesting thing is that yesterday morning in the New York Times, there was kind of a hint that, well, this guy had traveled to Russia and Chechnya. But actually, half a day earlier, The Hindu, which is a newspaper, the Hindu is a very large newspaper in India, came right out and said that this man had been exposed by Russia, and it notified the secret services of the United States, FBI, CIA, I'm not sure which, that this guy was dangerous, that he was a follower of radical Islam, that he'd changed dramatically, and that he was apparently going to travel to that country's region to join unspecified underground groups. Well, it seems as though the FBI did go and talk to this guy and found out that he's just a nice fellow. And so they ignored him completely after that. A lot of Republican congressmen now are a little upset because this is the 5th time that this has happened, where they've had someone on their radar that has done something or attempted something major in a way of a terrorist act and done nothing. But the thing that they're doing, and this is out of Novosti, the communist news service, I mean, that was a communist news service before the collapse of communism. It's still Novosti, and it still represents Russia. But they say Russia and U.S. stress need for joint counter-terrorism efforts. And according to the foreign minister, Lavrov of Russia, there's going to be an increasing cooperation between the intelligence services of Russia and the United States in the name of fighting terrorism. Well, this is not new. We could go on down through a lot of various things in this regard. But now, keep in mind, this guy's gone to Chechnya or Russia and apparently has come in contact with other individuals. We do know, by the way, that as a result of the attempted bombing in Times Square in 2010, that Watertown was a place of interest to the FBI in that terrorist attack. And now these guys head straight for Watertown after they blew up these bombs in Boston. So there's something going on here that maybe there's some hints that more people are involved, but don't worry about it. The United States has issued a press release saying they probably were acting on their own. It's just that terrorist deal, ramification of the lone gunman deal. Oswald acted alone. Don't worry about it. But what we see in this cooperation between the United States and Russia, it's very interesting. It's been going on for some time. How many of you know, for instance, that the FBI has an office in Moscow? They opened up an office in Kiev, all in the name of international crime and terrorism. Well, we see this fellow here, the International, not the National, but the International Herald Tribune, an article in there by an old friend by the name of Henry Kissinger, calling for a chance for a new world order. This man has been trying to set up a world government for years. Don't ever forget, this is the man that opened up China and all the problems we have with our industry today as a result. We built China up. We built up their military and everything else as a result of Kissinger going over there and opening up China. This is a picture of Putin and Kissinger meeting in Moscow. And at this meeting, Putin announces a joint American-Russian counter-terrorist organization of a cooperation between Russia and the United States. He names Kissinger the co-chair of the American wing. Now keep in mind, this is not an American organization, this is a Russian organization that Putin put together. Kissinger is the co-chairman of the American wing, and this guy here is Yevgeny Primakov. He is the chairman, or was the chairman, of the Russian arm or division of this cooperation. Primakov is a KGB guy. He used to be in charge of training communist terrorists around the world, including the communist terrorists in the Middle East. Well, hey, he ought to know about terrorism. So, naturally, he's a good pick to be in charge of counterterrorism, right? Well, I don't trust these guys, okay? At any rate, that's what's going on. Another thing that you might want to Google, and by the way, go to thenewamerican.com. You're right there. You can just click over there. We're carrying a lot of articles on this Boston bombing thing, so go over there and read some of those articles. Very enlightening. But what you want to do is Google Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Litvinenko. And let me spell that for you so that you can find it right away. It's Litvinenko. You may remember that that was the KGB man who defected from Russia. And he was poisoned by Russians in England with a radioactive material in his teacup. And he died a very slow, excruciating death over weeks. And they did that because he exposed the fact that, number one, Al-Qaeda had individuals at the leadership that were trained by the Russians. And number two, that a lot of this Chechnyan terrorism was actually being done by the KGB as an excuse to go in and occupy Chechnya and kill a lot of people. And for that, he died. Anyway, that's some background information on this whole Chechnyan domestic terrorism thing. When in the 60s and 70s, we had bombs every day. Today, these bombs are once in a while, and they're being used to create a reaction to where government comes and puts cameras all over the place, violates the Bill of Rights, on and on and on and on. It's meant to control the citizens of the United States. That is its aim. Security always costs. Freedom always costs. Once in a while, you'll find things that will go wrong and you'll suffer for it with total liberty. But if you have security, there's a cost. It's called enslavement. Until next week, we'll see you then.